He laughed. Sing for leftovers, but her voice devastated the CEO. At midnight, the clock struck 12, and the piercing ring of the bell echoed through the empty halls of Simtree Industries. Its darkened rooms held secrets, secrets that would trap anyone foolish enough to linger too long. Just then, a ghostly figure emerged from the shadows, her silhouette framed in the moonlight. It was Jess, the janitor with a voice that could shatter glass. So, sing for your leftovers. The CEO, a balding man named Rick, chuckled, masking his arrogance with laughter that felt hollow in the chill of the night. But Jess's eyes sparkled with an intensity that rivaled the stars, the heft of her sorrow apparent. Funny how a laugh could be both mocking and terrifying at the same time. In that moment, the air thickened with tension. The rustle of papers whispered like hushed voices, secrets brushing against the edges of darkness, hinting at something far more sinister. She stepped forward, hands trembling, unsure if she was ready for the storm brewing inside her. The CEO thought the power was in his hands. How naive. Why are you really here? Her voice cracked, sounding like a question from the depths of despair, surprising even her. The sudden silence felt oppressive, as a shadow slipped behind her, leaving a cold shiver tracing down her spine. Was it just a trick of the light? The hairs on her neck prickled with the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes, drawing her even deeper into this surreal nightmare. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the air heavy and charged with electricity, Jess opened her mouth, letting a single note hang in the icy air. It was raw, deep, echoing down the empty corridors like an ominous warning. The CEO's laughter dropped like a stone, horror washing over his face as the haunting melody struck him directly in the chest. He staggered back, eyes wide, as if Jess had pulled the very essence of his being with that sound. The room around them began to pulse, walls trembling, lights flickering erratically, as if the world could not contain the explosive energy being unleashed. It was a power like no other. Where was it coming from? What was happening? Jess could feel it building, the notes spiraling through her veins, shocking her more than any expression of horror on the CEO's face. And as his mouth opened in silent gasp, she realized there was no going back, only the certainty of what was about to unfold. In that moment, beneath the veneer of bravado and the ominous shadows, a chilling question hung in the air. How far would they go to silence the truth she was about to reveal? What boundaries would she cross to uncover the hidden secrets of Simtree Industries? And what would it cost them all? The echo of her haunting note seemed to suspend time, holding Rick in a state of frozen terror. His confident facade crumbled, revealing a man suddenly aware of the forces he toyed with. The walls throbbed with Jess's powerful resonance. It was a sound that shook the very foundation of Simtree Industries. Panic began to rise in his chest, a visceral reaction that felt foreign to him. What are you?" he stammered, eyes darting around the room as shadows flickered and danced menacingly under the flickering lights. An unseen force was awakening, and Jess was at its center. The intensity of her voice, once a mere expression of her pain, now ignited a hidden flame within her, transforming her into something greater. "I'm the truth you've been ignoring," Jess said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. She took a step forward, feeling the newfound power coursing through her, pulling strength from deep within. She wasn't just the janitor. She was a force to be reckoned with. The CEO's laughter had belittled her, but now, she sensed him cowering under the weight of her revelation. The room darkened further, as if drifting away from reality itself. Papers scattered like leaves in a storm, swirling around them as the energy pulsed with every note Jess released. It was as though the very air had turned electric, the atmosphere charged with impending chaos. "What do you want?" Rick's voice cracked, his bravado slipping as the shadows crept closer, tasting his fear. "I want the truth to be heard. Jess replied, the defiance in her tone causing the edges of his confidence to fray. This wasn't just about her leftovers. It was about the rot that infected their lives, masked by corporate smiles and empty promises. It was about the secrets tucked away in the bowels of Simtree Industries, the corruption that thrived under the guise of success. She sang again. The notes twisted and spiraled, weaving like a serpent around him. Each sound was a dagger, a deep cut revealing the lies they had thrived on. For a moment, Rick's eyes glazed over, entranced and horrified, consumed by the weight of his own conscience. Jess could feel his resolve crumbling in the wake of her song. Every harsh truth laid bare before him. But there was more lurking in the shadows beyond Rick. As her melody reached a fever pitch, a darker presence stirred, summoned from the depths of the building. An icy chill swept across the room, causing Jess to shudder. Even in the midst of her power, the sensation was unlike anything she had ever felt, both thrilling and terrifying. With a sudden snap, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. Rick gasped as the shadows grew thick and alive, coiling around him, threatening to swallow him whole. Jess's heart raced. Had she awakened something far more dangerous than she had intended? Jess! A voice rang out from the pitch black, a familiar tone calling out with urgency. Charlie, her trusted coworker, who had always believed in her. Charlie! She yelled, but terror choked her. What was happening? What had she unleashed? The lights flickered back on, illuminating a scene of chaos. Papers continued to whirl. Rick was gone, vanished into the darkness. And standing in the shadows, a figure loomed, cloaked in the mist, eyes glowing with malevolence. Jess took a step back, heart pounding. Who was this figure? Just as the air became heavy with an unshakable dread, the figure whispered in a low, menacing tone that sent chills down Jess's spine. You've only begun to uncover the truth, and now, you'll wish you hadn't. The room fell into silence once more, and Jess stood there, the shadows creeping closer. How deep did the secrets run? What new wave of terror awaited her? As the cloaked figure advanced, she realized that the battle was only beginning. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing sharp features distorted by an expression of grim amusement. Its voice, smooth as silk yet dripping with malice, echoed in Jess's ears, wrapping her in dread. You thought you could awaken the past? It sneered, stepping closer, shadows spiraling around it like smoke. Welcome to the cradle of darkness, where truths are buried and the innocent pay the price. Jess felt bile rise in her throat. What had she done? Was this creature a representation of all the hidden evils she had risked unearthing? The truth she wanted to convey now felt tainted, dangerous. Who are you? She demanded, trying to sound brave, even as her body trembled. What do you want? The figure tilted its head slightly, eyes glowing like embers in a dying fire. I am what you leave behind, a monster born of negligence and greed, a nightmare forged from the lies of Simtree Industries. Jess could almost hear the echoes of the office parties, the curt smiles concealing deceit. This was a reflection of the darkness that had long eroded the heart of the company, and now it sought revenge. Your song, Jess, it continued, almost conversationally, has awakened what has long been asleep. Every note you sang was a call to arms. The secrets you unleash will echo far and wide. She stepped back again, the air thick with unease, feeling vulnerable beneath its gaze. Panic sharpened her senses. I want to let you destroy me, she shouted, desperation rising. But inside, she questioned if she was strong enough. Destroy you? It chuckled darkly. I think you misunderstand. I'm here to take what's already yours, the truth of your own existence. The truth of your power. At that moment, Charlie's voice broke through again, cutting through the suffocating atmosphere, desperate and frantic. Jess, where are you? Charlie, she shouted, her heart crashing against her ribs. His voice anchored her, igniting a flicker of strength. The figure flinched slightly, as if threatened by the bond they shared. They will not help you, it hissed, backing away slightly as Jess felt the remnants of her courage surge through her like a wildfire. Instead, they will be consumed by the truth you must face alone. The shadows at its feet began to unfurl, their grip expanding around the room. Jess steadied her breath and clenched her fists. I'm not afraid of the truth, she yelled, and to her surprise, her own voice was laced with newfound conviction. With each heartbeat, Fragments of forgotten strength coalesced within her. She was determined to confront not just the creature, but the chaos lurking in the corners of her mind. "You underestimate the power of your voice," the figure said, hinting at a wicked smile. In that moment, a new song welled up inside her, rising from the depths of her fear. It was a rallying cry, her truth a melody created from the raw emotion and pain she had endured all her life. But just as she prepared to unleash it, a darkness thundered from somewhere beyond them, a trembling that shook the very foundations of the building. "What have you done?" the figure hissed, its composure shattering. Jess stood her ground, ready to face the wrath of the shadows. But was she prepared for what lay beyond? As the unmistakable sound of a door bursting open echoed through the room, screams of chaos erupted from the corridor. The truth was about to consume them all, and she was at the center. Was her song enough to save them, or had she awakened something that would bring even greater darkness? The air thickened, heavy with an electric charge as Jess's heart raced. The chaos in the corridor intensified, the screams cascading off the walls like shattered glass. She turned back to the figure, feeling the weight of its stare claw at her insides. "What did I do?" The words fell from her lips, brittle and shaky. "You stirred the pot," it said, its voice now a low growl that sent chills down her spine. "Now they will feast on fear." The shadows flickered and danced at its feet, expanding like hungry tendrils that sought to ensnare her, pulling at the edges of her very being. Suddenly, the room trembled again, and in that moment of doubt, Jess heard another familiar voice rising above the chaos, the voice of her friend Charlie, cutting through the din, raw with urgency. "Jess, get out of there, please." She clenched her fists tighter, grounding herself in his desperation. Just then, the door burst open wider, revealing a flickering light from the room outside. It spilled in like liquid gold, illuminating the dark figure standing before her. For a brief second, she saw its face twist in anger, and something in Jessica ignited a fire she didn't know she had. "Your precious connections won't save you," it shrieked, arms flailing as the shadows around it surged forward. Jess took a deep breath, drawing strength from Charlie's fear and the whispers of lost truths that echoed in her mind. "I won't let fear win," she shouted, her voice rising above the creature's cacophony. In that moment, she had a choice to become the worst version of herself or to rise above it. The weight of the song within her pulsed, and she felt it swelling near her throat. "Jess!" Charlie's voice was frantic. He sounded so close, and with it, her resolve solidified. She needed to take control, to channel the fears of her past into a weapon. With a fierce determination, she began to sing, not sweet and gentle like the lullabies of her youth, but a guttural, primal sound filled with everything she had bottled inside. "Leave us alone," she belted, every syllable a challenge, every note a declaration of war. The shadows recoiled, screeching in discontent, and Jess saw through the creature's facade. It was made of fear, a grotesque tapestry woven from the darkness of her experiences. The screams from the corridor seemed to harmonize with her voice, their fear becoming her song. As the truth spilled from her lips like molten lava, the figure stumbled back, its expression shifting from malice to confusion. "Stop!" it howled, but the power of her words only grew stronger, pulsating as the shadows twisted and writhed. "What have you become?" the figure rasped, its confidence unraveling before her. "I am done hiding. I want to be silenced," Jess cried, allowing her anguish to fuel the sound that resonated in the chaos, morphing it into something fierce and unyielding. Suddenly, the light from the room outside surged forward, illuminating the room with blinding clarity. Jess felt the primal surge of energy ripple through her, igniting her power. The shadows writhed, growing more frantic as if they sensed a storm brewing. But in the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement. A shadow swept toward Charlie, threatening to consume him. Panic crashed back into her chest like a tidal wave. "Charlie!" she screamed, breaking from the melody. "Jess!" he shouted, reaching for her, but darkness lunged, clawing at his edges. The figure stood firm, the glowing embers in its eyes flaring with wicked delight. "You can't save them, Jess. Not now." With a surge of adrenaline, Jess raced towards Charlie, ready to unleash the full power of her song. The line between light and dark blurred, and she felt the precarious balance shift. Whatever this entity was, it thrived on fear, yet she had found her as she harnessed it like a well of strength. "Stand behind me," she commanded, lunging forward, ready to shield him. As the shadows coiled around her once more, she steeled herself. But a sudden thought pierced through the cacophony. If she could face this darkness, did that mean she could also face her deepest secrets? The answer would come, but first, she had to confront the monster lurking within. As the final note echoed through the space, something shifted. Was it enough? The barriers of unseen worlds trembled, and for a fraction of a second, Jess glimpsed a way out. Would the song they created together be enough to break the chains of the past, or had she only awakened a far greater horror? The shadows writhed like black serpents, encircling Jess as she stepped closer to Charlie. Panic gripped her heart. She felt as if every breath she took pulled her deeper into the web of fear that now enveloped them. Each scream from the corridor pierced through her resolve, a chorus of desperation. "Stay behind me," she yelled, turning her back to him, fortifying herself against the encroaching darkness. Would her voice truly be enough to shield them? Doubts flooded her mind, but she clung to the fear, her fear whirling it into something powerful. The air crackled with tension as the figure faced her, twisting with rage. "You think you can defeat me with a song? Let us see how long you can keep this up." Its laughter echoed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. Shadows lunged, snapping at her like ravenous beasts. "Jess!" Charlie's voice quaked behind her, but she felt a flicker of strength ignite within. The fear of losing him propelled her forward. She could not let him be taken. With each note she unleashed, the darkness recoiled. "I am more than what you've made me. I will not be your prisoner." With that declaration, she poured everything, the grief, the pain, the hidden sorrows, into her voice. It became a weapon, a shield against the haunting figure. The creature shrieked, its form blurring as Jess's voice cut through the air. Light danced at the edges of the shadows, pushing back against the overwhelming darkness. The creature's limbs twisted in agony, but still, it lunged forward. "You can't hide from your past, Jess. It will always come back to haunt you." Her heart thundered. It was right. The monsters of her memories were lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for a chance to drag her back into despair. "Not today," she shouted, and the walls trembled as she lifted her head, summoning the rawest part of herself. The room filled with the sound of her song, a battle cry born from years of repression. The singing intensified, each note ripping at the shadows, tearing pieces from the creature itself. Roars filled the air, blending with the anguished cries of the darkness. But deep inside her, a flicker of worry took root. What pieces of herself would she have to sacrifice to conquer this nightmare? Charlie put his hand on her shoulder. The heat radiating from him steadied her. "I believe in you, Jess. Don't stop." His words wrapped around her, lending her strength as the shadow creature began to waver, its edges shimmering like mist. But just as she felt the tide beginning to turn, just as she sensed a flicker of hope, multiple shapes emerged from the shadows. Monstrous forms that seemed to multiply before her eyes. "What the hell?" Jess gasped. Panic threatened to pull her under. The echoes of their fearful wails intertwined with her melody, creating an overwhelming cacophony she struggled to control. Was this a test? An onslaught of her past traumas, each face more familiar than the last? "Can you truly conquer what makes you?" The figure hissed, its voice weaving through her doubts like a siren. "Your song is powerful, but can it confront the truth hidden beneath? Can it stand in the face of all you've done, or all that was done to you?" Jess felt the ground shift beneath her, and for a second, doubt threatened to take her voice. Pieces of her past, stitched together in a horrifying collage, felt ready to break through. The song faltered, trembling in uncertainty. "Charlie," she shouted, her voice cracking. "I don't know if I can pull through." Suddenly, she felt the darkness lurch closer, its warm breath sending tingling warnings across her skin. Desperation clawed at her chest. In that moment, the truth hovered just beyond her grasp. As she opened her mouth to sing again, would she speak her fears, or face something darker? The choice loomed, leaving her heart pounding in anxious anticipation. Would she have the courage to face the monster inside? Or would it use her hesitation against them both? dragging them into an abyss from which they might never return? The shadows pooled around her like liquid obsidian, each ripple a silent taunt to her wavering will. Jess clenched her fists, her heart racing against the weight of her memories. The darkness whispered, wrapping its icy fingers around her throat, squeezing tighter as more shapes rose from the ground, wreaking havoc on her resolve. Jess, focus. Charlie's voice broke through, steadying her. The urgency in his tone sparked something inside her, a dwindling flame she desperately clung to. I want to let you take us, she shouted, forcing her voice out despite the oppressive presence encroaching on all sides. Her song trembled but remained, a flicker of light in the smothering black. She felt the air vibrate with her words, pushing back against the tide of nightmares. But the figures, countless and twisted, shifted closer. Their faces morphed from friendly smiles to scowls, each an echo of something she wished to forget. She felt their judgments stab into her, splintering her confidence, each familiar visage a dagger made of her past mistakes. Is this really who you are? One of them sneered, eyes burning with malice. A fading songbird lost in a chorus of screams? Shut up, Jess screamed, feeling her composure slip. You're not real. You can't touch me. Yet inside, doubt stirred, a nagging sensation that perhaps they were as real as the pain they represented. Sing for us. The shadowed figure cackled, a grin twisting its face. It acted as conductor to the macabre orchestra surrounding her. Sing for your leftovers. Blood pulsed in her ears, a frantic drumbeat against the chaos. Jess shut her eyes, digging for the remnants of her spirit. She took a deep breath, forcing out the despair that threatened to engulf her. The shadows pressed harder, seeming to revel in her struggle. Come on, Jess, Charlie urged, stepping closer, the warmth of his presence a stark contrast to the chill of her surroundings. You can do this. I believe in you. With a surge of determination, she opened her eyes, glancing at him. His unwavering gaze anchored her. She inhaled deeply, channeling all her doubts and fears into the melody rising from her heart. Remember the ones you've lost, but not forgotten, she said, voice steady now. This is for them. Tendrils of golden light ignited from her song, splintering the dark that encircled them. The shadows hissed and writhed as her notes began to cut through. Each chant pulsed with an energy that sent shudders through the floor beneath them, pushing against the encroaching nightmare. Yet still, more shadows sprung forth, each bearing vivid memories, faces of friends abandoned. Laughter turned to sobs that echoed louder than the songs she sang. Is this all you have? One hissed, its voice a mixture of her fears. You think this can save you? Her resolve flickered, but she remembered the warmth of Charlie's hand on her shoulder, the faith he placed in her. I will face every part of myself, she declared, her voice morphing into a powerful battle cry that shredded through the last of the doubts. The chorus of darkness shrieked as her song reached a crescendo. Flickers of light began to drown the shadows, illuminating grotesque faces that now swirled in confusion and fury. Jess's heart thudded in her chest as she felt herself drawing from each painful memory, transforming that anguish into strength. But as the shadows twisted and twisted, something more sinister took shape in the depths. A colossal force, larger than the rest, loomed behind them. It rolled like thunder, darkening the air as its heavy presence crashed against Jess's song. A chill swept through her, piercing deep into her bones as she caught a glimpse of its form, something monstrous but familiar. A figure she hadn't wanted to remember, a past she wished to avoid. No, she gasped, heartsick as the shadows swirled tighter, a storm closing in on both her and Charlie. Fight it, Jess. Charlie's voice collided with the chaos. You're stronger than this. Could she gather enough power for one final push? The truth echoed in her heart, and in that moment of dire urgency, she realized facing this looming fear was her only chance to sever the chains that bound her. Charlie, she cried, squeezing his hand as the darkness closed in. This isn't over yet. With her voice rising in defiance, she prepared to face this terrifying embodiment of pain, racing toward the heart of her own fears. Would she emerge victorious, or would the shadows swallow them whole? The air thickened, transforming uncertainty into palpable dread as everything hung on the precipice of what could be a devastating end. The beast loomed larger, a pulsating mass of despair cascading around Jess. Its eyes glinted like shards of broken glass, reflecting the pain of past failures. Every moment she hesitated felt like a lifetime, with the dark figures closing in, their laughter ringing in her ears, mocking her every resolve. "Sing for leftovers. Show us what you're made of, Jess." The figure that had once been a friend chimed in, its voice twisted into something unrecognizable. The shadows swelled, a tide of nightmares threatening to drown her. Jess felt her strength slipping as doubts coiled tighter around her heart. Cold sweat dripped down her back, and in the grip of fear, she could almost hear all the things she had buried: the failures, the moments of weakness, the regrets that taunted her from the edges of her memory. "Charlie, I can't hold them back," she yelled, frustration cracking through her voice. "Don't give up," he yelled back, his words shimmering with fervor. "You're standing on the edge of your greatest victory." His faith shattered the black waves flooding her spirit. Fragments of determination surged within her. Jess drew in a deep breath, lifting her chin defiantly, glaring at the creature that embodied all her pain. This was not just a figment of her imagination. It was a specter of her past, amplified into a monstrous form by her fears. "Every scar tells a story," she whispered to herself, "and I own them all." The shadows writhed around her, taunting her further. She began to sing, quiet at first, a low thrum that resonated deep within her. As the melody built, her voice sliced through the dark. Light sparked from her throat, pushing against the inky void with each note. "I am more than the pieces you brought back," she cried, her soul igniting with the fire of her song, illuminating the shadows with phosphorescent light. "I am the melody of survival." The monstrous figure writhed under the force of her voice, its shape flickering like a flame caught in the wind. She poured everything into that moment: the love for her lost friends, the fierce memories of those who believed in her, and the burning desire to reclaim her life. The shadows shrieked and hissed, inching back from the radiant waves of sound that enveloped them. "Jess, keep it going." Charlie's voice rang like a bell, grounding her. She could feel him, his unwavering support anchoring her as she reached deeper for more strength. With a mighty breath, she unleashed the full force of her song, and the air around them trembled with energy. Each note was a weapon, cutting through the darkness while threading through the chaos like a golden thread. Shadows recoiled and faltered, losing their grip as the moments of shame and regret transformed into sparks of resilience. But just when Jess thought she had them on the run, the colossal figure surged forward, driving a scream of rage through the thickening fog of nightmares. It lashed out, black tendrils reaching for her, promising to pull her back into despair. "You think you can escape?" it snarled, and Jess felt its breath like a bitter wind, freezing her resolve. "You are forever trapped." "No," Jess roared, her voice a thunderclap that echoed throughout the darkness. "You don't own me." In an explosive burst, she surged forward, colliding with the dark force in a powerful clash of light and shadow. They fought, the energy crackling like electricity in the air. For every movement the beast made, she answered with a resounding note, forcing back the shadows that pulled at her. Her heart pounded, the vicious struggle pommeled her senses. Could she truly break free? As they pushed against each other, the ground trembled, and the walls started to shudder. Something deep within her felt ready to snap, a line drawn between fear and triumph. But obstacles still loomed. The darkness roared with fury, its forms twisting and merging into something larger, something more terrifying. And yet, among the chaos, Jess caught a glimpse of Charlie, steadfast and glowing with belief, urging her on, believing that she could conquer it all. The power surged, unpredictably, straining at the seams of her spirit as she summoned every ounce of her being for one final push. "Together, we will break you," she screamed, her voice cutting through the storm. But as the last note rang out, a doubt flickered to life inside her. Had she truly learned enough to face what was about to emerge? The shadows gave way, and Jess's heart raced with icy fear. What would be waiting for her on the other side? The final confrontation she had no idea was coming. The darkness slowly receded, revealing a landscape warped by her fear. Twisted remnants of her past lay scattered like broken toys, reminders of every mistake, every betrayal. Jess's breath hung heavy in her chest, an unwanted weight that tinged the air with desperation. No more hiding, she told herself. Yet, as the shadows slinked away, a new figure emerged. Tall and imposing, it swaggered forward, draped in an aura of chilling confidence. It was the embodiment of everything she had fought against, wearing a grin that seemed stitched from malice. This was no mere figment. This was her greatest nightmare made flesh. "Congratulations, Jess," it sneered, its voice chocolate smooth, yet razor sharp. "You've made it this far, but this is only the beginning." Jess faltered, her heart pounding as it strode ever closer. "What do you want?" The words tumbled from her lips, shaking, hesitant. "Oh, I'm here for a little fun," it replied, reveling in her fear, its eyes gleaming with excitement. "Let us play a game, shall we? You sing, I hunt." Before she could process the frantic urgency of its challenge, the ground beneath her feet vibrated, a pulse emanating from the creature that twisted reality itself. The shadows surged back, heaving forwards with renewed vigor, razor-like fingers stretching and curling toward her as if to ensnare her anew. Her voice trembled, but she forced the melody, weaving it into the oppressive gloom. "I want to let you take me," Jess declared, though her heart quavered. "You can try." It laughed, a haunting sound ricocheting off the walls. It darted forward, forming into a spiraling mass of darkness, swift and predatory. Each note she sang shimmered like glass, fracturing in the face of the beast's relentless chase. The haunting laughter filled her ears, tormenting her with echoes of doubt. "Look around. Do you really think you can win against your own failures?" it taunted. Gritting her teeth, Jess clenched her fists. She refused to drown in past regrets, refusing to allow them to dictate her present. "Every failure is a step toward victory," she shouted, forcing herself to believe it. With renewed passion, she unleashed a chorus woven from heartache and triumph, each breath igniting the space with warmth while her fears recoiled. The pursuit hung just behind her, a breath away, but she moved through the swirling chaos, each note becoming a shield against the dark. Yet the creature was clever, lashing out with swathes of shadow, blocking her path, stretching its dark tendrils to draw her back into despair. "You're merely a shadow of your true self," it hissed, its breath cold and biting. "No," Jess yelled, harnessing every fiber of her being. "You're wrong." The elemental clash escalated, her heartbeat sinking with the ethereal power expanding around her. With one bold stroke, she willed forth an eruption of sound, a blast of brilliance that shattered the oppressive atmosphere. But as the radiant energy surged, the beast let out a wild scream, and for the first time, fear flickered in its eyes. It stumbled back, unnerved by her defiance, a break in its otherwise confident facade. For an instant, Jess believed. She believed she could overcome, believed she could silence the fears that haunted her. But then, a realization broke through the fog of victory. What was she truly confronting? The shadows were one thing, but deep down, was this creature not also a part of who she was? "Are you prepared to face yourself?" It purred, its voice now a deadly whisper that twisted through her mind like smoke. Panic fluttered within her. The darkness pulsed, and with it, the unraveling strands of her own insecurities seeped back into view. As everything around her began to twist, Jess faced her reflection in the monster's glinting eyes. Would she rise or succumb to the depths of despair once and for all? The ground shook beneath her. Her song hadn't ended, it had only just begun. But would she be brave enough to face the truth in the storm of shadows? The shadows began to swirl with a life of their own, each tendril a bitter reminder of Jess's failures. The creature loomed over her, eyes blazing with a wicked delight that dug deep into her sanity. She felt small beneath its gaze, like a fading star threatened by a gathering storm. "Face yourself, Jess, or let me consume you whole," it taunted, a smile creeping across its twisted face. It reveled in the uncertainty that seeped through her. Jess felt that familiar tightness in her throat, the weight of hidden regrets clawing at her insides. The simple truth was chilling. This wasn't just a monster. It was everything she despised about herself. With every pulse of sound she released, the shadows seemed to nod in agreement, discordant and chaotic. For every triumph she sang of, They rushed to drown it with a harmony of doubts echoing in her mind. "You're unworthy," they sang. "You'll never escape." "No." Jess clenched her fists tighter, drawing breath into her lungs as if each note could shatter the grip of her past. "I'm more than my failures," she screamed, defiance lacing her words. The melody burst forth like flames from a dying ember, each note laced with a desperate hope. The creature faltered, its sleek outline trembled under the glow of her voice. The shadows hesitated, recoiling as if burned by the light. Could she break the chains binding her? The thought ignited determination within her. Yet, as the song spiraled upward, a sudden chill swept through the once chaotic landscape. The shadows recoiled, but just as she felt a flicker of triumph, a wave of darkness surged forth. Fear danced along her spine as thick tendrils lunged, seeking to bind her once again. They coiled tight around her ankles, dragging her back, hunting for her weakness. "You're not strong enough to face me, Jess," it hissed, fingers of darkness weaving in, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Jess felt the familiar loneliness creeping in, the anxiety from all those years of feeling invisible, unworthy. This monster was no different from the whispers in her mind. They were one and the same. "No," Jess gasped, breaking free from the swift momentum of despair. She summoned every shred of determination she could muster, straining against the shadows. Suddenly, the world around her shifted. The depths of her insecurities began to distort, thinning at the edges like fading memories that in that moment of clarity. She saw it, the creature was fraying at the seams, threads of darkness unraveling. "You're right, you don't belong here," she shouted defiantly, her voice mingling with an overwhelming force. As her song grew stronger, she focused on the creature's eyes, deep wells reflecting her past fears. With each note, she pulled them away from her, reclaiming the fragments of herself lost in the chaos. Light pierced through the darkness around her, a dazzling flare amid the storm. But the creature let out a guttural roar, a desperate sound that reverberated through the shifting landscape. "You think you can banish me?" it bellowed, rage spilling from its lips. "I am not just a shadow of your past, I am your truth." Jess stumbled back, her voice wavering as the realization hit her. The hunter had turned. It was right. It knew her inside out. The beast was her truth, and ignoring it wouldn't make it disappear. She had to face that uncomfortable reality. Now, caught between success and defeat, Jess felt the final barrier shatter her fear of herself. Each breath became a continuous melody, binding what she once feared into a newfound strength. "I see you and I choose to rise," she thundered, her voice a battle cry that surged through her entire being. And yet, even as she reached for freedom, a sinister laugh echoed from the darkness, a reminder that the struggle was only just beginning. Would she finally muster the courage to confront the very truths that threatened to consume her? As the shadows writhed and the monster's laughter faded into the depths, one question loomed large. What would she uncover when the storm finally settled? Jess stood at the edge of her own reality, breathless and shaking, her heart pounding in sync with the remnants of shadow that still clung to her. The creature loomed before her, its wicked grin faded, replaced by a mask of uncertainty. "You think you can simply rewrite your story?" It spat, its voice brimming with venom, yet echoing a tremor of doubt. "I don't just think it," she declared, defiance pouring from her very core. "I know it." Each word resonated with an undeniable truth. The weight of that truth surged through her, igniting a fire she never knew she possessed. She was not going back into the darkness. She would pull everything into the light. In that moment, something shifted. The shadows began to retreat, as if ripped from their roots, shrieking and flailing under the might of Jess's burgeoning power. Her song rang out with fierce clarity. It shaped her reality, forming the world around her anew. Light exploded into existence where darkness once reigned. She could feel the tendrils of the past breaking, could see the monster falter as her voice clashed against its tangled web of lies. "You can't run from me. I am everything you are." The creature shrieked, its twisted form struggling against the essence of her melody. "No," Jess shouted, the word a powerful incantation, a spell that swelled within her throat. "You're everything I refuse to acknowledge." She poured her pain, her loneliness, and her anger into her voice, threading each note with a determination to reclaim her own narrative. The familiar faces of doubt, fear, and heartbreak began to lose their grip on her sanity. Twisting in a cacophony of shattered echoes, Jess's song climbed higher. She felt something new. It was a warmth blossoming in her chest, a pure, radiant hope. It merged seamlessly with the ache of her memories, each painful recollection becoming a part of a much larger story, one of resilience and strength. Drawn closer by the fervor of her song, Charlie appeared. His face was lit with a fierce light, unwavering faith shimmering in his eyes. "You're not alone, Jess. You've got this." His encouragement was the spark she needed, fueling her resolve. "Yes, I'm not alone. I've never been," she shouted, her melody rising to a pitch that shattered the chains binding her spirit. She reached into the depths of her memory, gathering every loss, every hardship, every moment she felt less than. Each became a stepping stone, guiding her toward her true self. The creature shrieked one last time, a ground-shaking wail that echoed through the now brightened space. "You'll regret this," it cried, as the brightness engulfed it, devouring every shadow it cast. But Jess stood firm, singing louder and bolder than ever before. "You do not define me. I am not afraid of you." The darkness melted like mist in sunlight, dissipating beneath her unwavering resolve. And then, silence. The air hummed with soft vibrations as the last remnants of despair faded into nothingness. Jess opened her eyes, looking around at the transformed world. The once intimidating walls of Simtree Industries seemed gentle now, bathed in a warm glow, like a piece of art newly revealed from the clutches of darkness. "Jess!" Charlie rushed forward, embracing her tightly. Tears shimmered in his eyes. But they weren't tears of fear, they were tears of joy and relief. "You did it. You faced it." She dropped her head into his shoulder, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability, the burden of her past slowly slipping away. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered, the truth a balm to her weary soul. They shared a cocoon of warmth as reality shifted back to normal. The chaos outside faded into a distant memory. As dawn broke over Simtree Industries, Jess felt the weight of the night fading like fog under the sun. "What now?" she asked Charlie, her voice more grounded, more alive than ever before. "We move forward," he replied softly, pulling back to meet her gaze, determination etched in his features. "Together." "Together," she echoed, the word painting a promise between them. The past would never truly disappear. It would always carry lessons, but she would remain a survivor. As they stepped into the new day, Jess felt the weight lift from her shoulders. With each stride, she embraced her newfound power, ready to face the challenges ahead. She was Jess, the singer, the janitor who had uncovered the truth. And she would sing her song loud, for everyone to hear. The sun rose brilliantly on the horizon, illuminating the path before them. As the first rays kissed the ground, Jess turned to the camera, a smile blossoming across her face. "Hey everyone, if this journey touched your heart the way it changed mine, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for more powerful stories. Smash the like button now to push this message forward and feed the algorithm." Her voice was vibrant, infused with a sense of triumph. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What would you do if faced with your own darkness? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Jess took a deep breath, the thrill of overcoming resonating within her. Together, we can keep moving forward, unveiling more truths. Let us keep this journey alive.